nice. So just moving it forward,
Yeah.
keen to sort of get your thoughts on how FP&A teams are evolving and sort of the
Mhm.
current day challenges. And we're hearing a lot about AI and everything like that in the current day. Keen to sort of get your thoughts on that and current evolutions and challenges in FP&A teams that you see.
Yeah, certainly, certainly. So, I'll kind of, go back to, some of the stuff I was saying before, where, there seems to be this evolution of, more kind of, let's say more information, more connectivity across, the entire organization, right? More organizations are moving to that data hub, that data lake, that having those types of data sets available. There is a stronger need, especially when we start talking about predictive, AI, ML, type applications coming out to market, and how those are actually going to be used, and being able to essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to de-risk the business as much as possible, right? You're trying to see around every single corner. It's still going to be operations as normal. If you make t-shirts, you're still going to make t-shirts, right? But we need to know about all the risks in the country that we're manufacturing. We need to know all the risks around the supply chain. We need to know all the risks around our distribution network. We need to know all the risks around our workforce. And really, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to de-risk the business, because at the end of the day, who owns the business? Well, the shareholders. The shareholders want a return, and they want a guaranteed return, right? So you're trying to de-risk the business, and you're trying to get as much information in a format that allows for you to feel comfortable and confident that I believe in this so strongly that I'll put my name behind this. And so where FP&A teams are kind of evolving, in my opinion, is, they used to be, and of course there's accounting and finance as kind of two separate veins of that. But to me, in kind of the old school world, finance was kind of blamed when things went wrong, right? Where there were mistakes, things of that nature. There was a big miss on particular numbers where you didn't vet that well, and so on and so forth. Or if there was an error in the process, or maybe a fat finger on a model, that's the worst. But now they have a big ask of them to think about the future. And that's obviously on the finance side, but think about the future in a way that they're responsible and accountable for the guidance that they're giving. They'll propose through their different sensitivity analysis and scenario planning they're doing. Well, we've modeled out these 3, 5, dozen different types of scenarios. We've thought of these particular risks, these factors, and they'll be held accountable to that. So that's kind of where I'm seeing the shift, where there seems to be kind of a higher stress level for the accountability on, when it comes to the planning. Financing is a huge aspect, obviously, and that's ultimately the big connection to the cash side of the business there. And how do you make sure you're getting the best rates? How do you make sure that you're partnering up with the right folks? When it comes to that, are you making the right choices? Debt, equity, types of different avenues through that. How you take on either one of those, and all of that is done through through that kind of expanded de-risking process, I'll say, where AI and machine learning and all that fun stuff is coming in. It's a part of the conversation quite a bit. It's difficult for me to know how quickly this will happen. As I said, kind of at the beginning, there's still a lot of work to be done to normalize data, let's say. So that master data management bit, you know, as much as you can train AI and machine learning and all of that, it doesn't do well with, you know, bad data sets, right? It's the old garbage in, garbage out, and it's still these types of tools. You know, I still look at them as tools. They are not the replacement for everything. They may be, right? As much of a, you know, futurist technologist as I may pretend to be sometimes, I have no I have no clue how quickly this could happen. I think, you know, um, at the for the more mature companies, the older companies that have a lot of legacy systems, processes, you know, ways things have happened, the adoption of those types of tools will take longer, um, simply because the exceptions, right? Oh, well, 2 years ago we actually switched to this, or that shouldn't. There are so many nuances to the business and how it's slightly changed and pivoted and how that was recorded or accounted for within those systems, or if it's even in a system, right? A lot of that information lives right up here, or in some spreadsheet that's not saved on a shared drive. But you know, I think the rollout for kind of, let's say, the fix for everything across the organization is probably a little bit further out, where you have a brand new company. For instance, if I was to start today, everything AI, right? I would be thinking about that in every single, you know, tech, like throughout the entire tech stack, and that's where I would be focused, and I would be doing my best to make sure that it was going to line up with that future state. The thing is, companies that are 20, 30, 50 years old, you didn't have that ability to see how that impact was going to come through. So that's where I think there's going to be that gap. I think that tools like Vena, but I even just saw recently, OneStream put together a partnership with Microsoft so that their agent is actually embedded on the Microsoft side as well. Um, and I think it's that type of front end integration that will have the biggest impact for teams immediately. What are kind of the front end processes that they can solve for? For instance, connecting Vena to a PowerPoint, having that, you know, work really easily, connecting that to a bit of a predictive model, or connecting it to a Word document, being able to integrate that into Teams, having that maybe integrate into a Fabric workflow that goes to a completely different application or something else. You know, I think that's where, you know, a lot of these tools are going to help and pick up. I think that they'll be good at fact checking. So for instance, I use ChatGPT myself quite a bit to help synthesize my thoughts, but also to kind of fact check me, right? I'll throw in, you know, whatever document I've got and say, okay, make sure I haven't missed anything. Um, Ironically, I also have to put in the prompt, you know, or else I get fired. So make sure you don't miss anything. You usually have to make sure that there's like high stakes to get the right right data. You know,
Make sure they're paying attention.
yeah. There's a ransom for my child if I don't if I don't answer this correctly. The child will be gone away. Yeah, but no,